Hey everybody, I'm going to do a little natural field journal today. It was raining, so I decided to make it simple. I found two potatoes and then I found this bug. So I thought we see what we could do with trying to observe a couple of these things. It's cool, this bug didn't want to go in the bag, so it was already responding to its environment. So I'm going to write down stuff I learned. So in this case, I noticed that since it was raining, I wanted to be able to bring stuff inside and look at it closely. So for that, I needed a little bag here, a Ziploc, because I found this little bug. So these are what I'm calling strategies, things I'm learning from doing this. Now the goal here is to basically have a conversation between nature and me. And for that to happen, I'm going to be writing down whatever observations I make, or at least some of my observations. And then I'm going to hopefully record what I learned from doing the journal. So anything that I'm learning, I'm going to write down. And then I'm going to want to repeat this process 4 times and get better at it. So for example, pencil was a good idea to have. So I'm going to make this field journal into a scavenger hunt for greaser. So I'm looking for things showing evidence of growth, responding, using energy, being made of cells, excreting, and reproducing. And then I have to try to get 2 kinds of observations, quantitative and qualitative. Quantitative and qualitative are the required observations. So the goal is to get better at this each time I try it. So let's get started making the observations. So I'm not a great artist. I like to think of things more as diagrams. So my drawings are much more diagrams than they are drawings, which diagrams essentially are things, very simple drawings or sketches with arrows pointing to them. So I'm just trying to get the rough size of things and make some real simple observations about what they look like, with some arrows here and there describing some colors and some things I see. Essentially those are qualitative observations. So I've sort of got one already done, one of my required observations done. Then I'll look a little closer at the stone there and get some more descriptions of that, and just notice there's little specks in there, both big white specks and then also some really small sparkly specks rather. So with qualitative done, I'm going to switch to quantitative observations, and I'm going to remember that my pinky is about 1 centimeter wide, and I'm going to just count how many pinky links or pinky widths it is, and I'm going to record with a little space bar or scale bar there. So now I'm going to do the rock. I'm going to count across my pinky lengths, and I'm going to draw another scale bar. It's about 5 centimeters. That's why it's good to have a pencil. I can erase. Now I'm going to draw the little bug, and it's nice to have it in the bag so I can move it around. It's pretty good. I'm going to estimate it to be about 0.9 centimeters. So this is where you have a little fun with it. You can draw these magnifying glasses because it's hard to draw something that small, so I want to make it bigger so I can see it. I'm going to try to capture that it's kind of got these bumps on the sides or these ridges. But then if I'm really careful about observing, I'm going to notice, I got the numbers wrong, so I counted them. Sure enough, there's 8, so I'm going to draw 8 on each side. And again, I'm not trying to be I'm just trying to get sort of basic counts and numbers of those little segments, and then the basic shape of the head and the fact that it's got some antennae going on there. And then I mentioned that it's a top view. Now, remember at the beginning it was moving around, it was responding, so I'm going to mark that it's moving, and that's a good thing to do. Then I'm going to try to maybe draw the little baggie that it's in and just maybe capture a little bit about the bag's qualities, that it's got holes in it. Put the bug in there, and then notice that it's moving and try to describe it. Look, it gets to the edge and stops, and so it's interesting. And then look, I notice it starts to, in some cases, it's moving back and forth, its antennae, and looks like that might be a way it's sensing its environment. So I'm going to jot that down too. I'm going to notice, hey, that thing is moving backwards too, as well as forwards. So I'm going to jot that down. It's moving backwards and it's moving forwards. And again, all these are evidence that it's using energy, and I might notice that the potatoes aren't doing that, so I'm just going to record that fact that they're not moving. Neither is the rock, so I'm just going to take a note of that. And that's a good place to start for observing response. So I'm going to add some details that are less obvious, the fact that it's got legs off each segment. I'm going to agree that it's using energy, so I'm going to check that off. And then I'm going to notice that I wrote my name down at the bottom. I'm calling that metadata, name, date, and time, and all that stuff down at the bottom. Now I'm going to take this magnification idea to sort of an extreme. I'm going to imagine what I think the cells of this thing might look like. So I'm going to draw the cells of the potato with a little magnifying glass. I'm going to do the same thing with the cells of the red potato, and is making me have questions about the color of those cells and what's causing the colors. So I might eventually write that down as a question, put some nuclei and things in there. And then I can remember, oh yeah, that thing's got different shaped cells. That's got animal cells, so I'm going to make the rounder ones, not the boxy ones. I'm going to put nuclei in all the cells. And then I'm going to think about, geez, does this thing have chloroplasts in it? I mean, it doesn't look green. Definitely the red one doesn't. So I'm going to make that a question for myself for later. I'm going to consider that a cell observation. Then I'm going to put them next to each other and wonder if they're related, like they siblings or something. I'm going to count that as a reproduction question. Now I'm looking for excretion, and I'm remembering these cells have mitochondria in them, and that means that they're giving off CO2, right? If CO2 is a burning product, and sure enough, the animal cells have nuclei and mitochondria as well, and this thing's multicellular, so I'm going to label that, and I'm going to maybe label a couple mitochondria in there, and I'm going to remember that this is sort of a waste product that cells give off the CO2, so I'm going to count that as an excretion question. So I had a conversation between nature and me, and I'm going to look at some things I could ask questions about. So, for example, does the potato have chloroplasts in it? That's a question. And I'm thinking about how the potatoes look alike, so I might ask the question, are these potatoes related to each other in some way? They're clearly not from the same plant, but how are they related? So these are questions I'm going to jot down for later. So this is an observation field journal entry. In real time, this took me about 20 minutes to do. The goal of it, again, is just to have fun looking at things, writing down observations, and enjoying yourself. So I hope this helps. I'm eager to see what you do.